Do you have a fear of rejection? Do you have a core belief that you're not worthy, that you're not good enough? Do you feel like everyone leaves and that you have constantly being abandoned in your life? If this is you, then you're not alone. In this video, I'm going to explain how I'm starting to finally overcome my false beliefs around abandonment and rejection. My name is Angela Cleary. I'm a feminine empowerment coach and I specialise in healing after narcissistic abuse. So abandonment and rejection are one and the same. Because of our unhealed traumas, because of our unhealed core wounds, we have a major fear of rejection, a major fear of abandonment. We have this core belief, this false belief, that we're not worthy, that we're not good enough to be chosen. And, this is the same wound that keeps bubbling up for me. When I was a toddler, my mother left. So, this is where it all started. But because of my unhealed trauma, my unhealed inner child, this wound dictated my whole life. This wound is the reason I attracted narcissistic relationships. This wound is the reason I felt so unworthy of love. This wound is what made me fear rejection so much and, stay attached into the wrong relationships because I feared being alone. I feared that everyone would just leave, as my mother did. And now my abandonment wound keeps getting triggered over and over and over again every time I go through a setback. And that's the thing, it doesn't have to just be about relationships. It can be romantic relationships when we get rejected. When we have to walk away from family members, we feel rejected. Even if a loved one passes away, we feel abandoned. And all kinds of things. Even if we change jobs or something changes in our lives or we try something and we fail, this will trigger our core rejection wound, our core abandonment wound, because our unhealed inner child is like, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, and this prevents us from trying new things, even taking risks in our life, and this leads us to cage up our hearts, to block our hearts off to love and to people. It stops us from trusting ourselves, it stops us from trusting the universe, and it stops us from trusting other people. But it stops us from, leaving our comfort zone. And as I said, this is the one wound for me that keeps coming up over and over again. Anytime I have a little setback or some self-limiting beliefs come in, I feel abandoned, I feel rejected. I've had to walk away from many people on my spiritual journey. This has triggered my core abandonment wound, my core rejection wound, even though I made that decision to walk away. And I know rejection is the universe or God's protection. So if we're rejected by a romantic partner, this is because they weren't the right person, and this is the universe taking that person out of our lives as protection. If we have to walk away from family members, this is protection because those people no longer serve us. I know all this, and this is the hardest part for me, is that I understand why people leave. I even understood why my mother left. I don't blame her. She had her own problems. I know it wasn't, you cannot, especially when it comes to a child, if you're abandoned as a child. Now, abandonment as a child does not necessarily mean the parent actually leaving. You could have both parents there, but with lack of affection or a parent choosing a substance like alcohol or drugs, or choosing not to be, have that kind of affection due to their own upbringing. This is abandonment. Neglect of any kind, this is abandonment. Not being seen by your parents, that's abandonment for your core inner child. So you could have had what you see as a stable home growing up, but certain things could have happened where you felt abandoned or rejected. And this wound will stay bubbling inside you and it will resurface again and again every time you feel rejection or abandonment. And as I said, this can just feel like, something not working out. So it doesn't actually have to pertain to another person. It could be just that something in your life didn't work out, something in your life failed. And I just don't like that word failed because I think everything is a lesson. But we can feel so unworthy, so dejected, so rejected, so abandoned within ourselves when we go through any kind of turmoil. And this has happened for me over and over and over again in my journey. And I know my core beliefs, and I know the reason, I'm healing consistently. I'm healing my inner child. So I know what is triggered. I know why I feel this way. I understand it. Then I try to talk myself back out of that pain and say, they didn't leave you. You chose to leave these people because they're not your people. Or if it was romantic, it's because that person wasn't ready for you. Maybe you're overqualified for that job. You could be too good for somebody and they walk away. Do you get me? They're intimidated by you. So there's so many reasons why it's not your fault that things change or people leave. But because I still had this mindset, my inner child had this mindset that she wasn't good enough, that she wasn't worthy, and then everyone just left. And my walls keep going back up again and again. And I've been going through a major heart awakening as well. And my heart has been so heavy, but I'm so scared to let my walls down again. I just, with that fear of if I try anything new, if I let people in, they're just going to walk away. They're just going to hurt me. Is it not safer to stay in my bubble? Is it not safer to stay behind these walls? And this is constantly happening over my journey. And, I keep healing, but still closing. I understand that it's not my fault. I understand that I am worthy. I understand that I do deserve to be chosen. And I understand that people only leave because of their own shit or because they're no longer in alignment with you. It's nothing to do with me. My mother didn't leave a toddler because I did something wrong. She left because of her own problems. This is, and you same with, parental neglect. They didn't neglect you because you did something wrong. They neglected you because of their own core wounds. So it was never, ever, ever anything to do with you. And you see, this is the one I keep trying to tell myself over and over again. But I just couldn't truly believe it because I had such pain in my heart. I just felt that if I keep the walls up, if I don't let anyone in, if I don't try anything new, if I stay in my comfort zone and stay in my bubble, I can't be hurt again. But it's actually painful and lonely in there. And this is it took me a major epiphany over the weekend. A major wake-up call to understand that this core wound is a false belief. We are dictating our lives based on false beliefs. It's not is it true? My core belief, my core wound was that I was unworthy. I didn't deserve to be chosen. Everyone leaves and it's all because of me. That isn't true. I know that's not true. Something has to be, something cannot be true unless it's true 100% of the time. And I've done workshops on this where I've understood that I know I'm worthy of certain things. So why am I feeling unworthy of other certain things? Because you can't be unworthy and worthy at the same time. You can't be both things at the same time. And I do believe that I have, I'm good enough. I deserve to be loved. I deserve to be chosen. So why do I keep going back to this false belief system? Why do I keep going back to that lie? And that's what it is. And I only understood this weekend. Whenever I do breathwork sessions from time to time, and whenever I tend to do a breathwork session, it gives me massive wake-up calls around my heart. My heart chakra is my biggest block. And it breaks my walls down completely. But I was halfway through this breathwork session and I burst out crying hysterically. I had to put my little fur baby to sleep a week ago. This obviously broke my heart and I was numb. And I was after it, I was like, no, I'm fine, it's grand, I understand everything happens. And, she was old and it was her time to go. And, I love her, I miss her, I'm upset, but I'll be fine. And then I just started getting on with my life again. And I just started just doing the normal routine over the weekend or over the last week. But I felt so heavy-hearted, but I wasn't asking myself why. But halfway through this breathwork session, I burst out crying and I just felt this wake-up in my heart. It was just opening. I was just oh my God, I'm back to using the same defense mechanisms because my dog died. And I was like, she didn't abandon me. And that's what I felt. Initially the tears came and I was like, oh my God, everyone leaves, and I'm hurt again, and my heart is broken again, and I feel abandoned again, I feel rejected again. And I was like, this broke me out of that pain. but made me realise, hold on now a second. I'm feeling abandonment and rejection because my dog died. My dog did not choose to leave me. She was old and it was her time to go. And then I was like, my baby girl, she chose me every single day for almost 14 years. So how can I feel abandoned and rejected by her when she didn't do anything? She didn't deliberately leave me. And this kind of just woke me up. It was like, hold on now a second. If I'm going back to the same defense mechanisms because of my abandonment wound and my rejection wound being triggered again, because my poor baby girl passed away, you know, my beautiful fur baby, like, you know, she didn't leave me on purpose, you know, and she's still with me, obviously. Her spirit is still with me. But to have the same belief system, to have the same core wound triggered because of my dog dying, made me realise and made me wake up to the fact that, hold on a second, my girl chose me every day for almost 14 years. So why am I feeling these feelings? Why am I caging my heart up again because she passed away? She didn't reject me. She never rejected me. I'm like, oh, I loved her so much. Like, you know, she never rejected me. I could have shouted at her and she still loved me. You know what I mean? And this woke me up to the fact that I was like, made me remember, something has to be true 100% of the time for it to be true. And I was like, and then I remembered all the stuff I tried to tell myself before. People leave for their own reasons. People leave for their own wounds. It has nothing to do with me. But it took for that epiphany, that wake-up call through that breathwork session, to make me realise it's not my fault. And I could feel my heart uncage, and I was like, what the fuck? Like, I keep letting my abandonment, that's the way I see it now, is that I keep letting my abandonment wound be triggered, my rejection wound be triggered. I keep letting myself close my heart up for these things. This was never, none of it was ever my fault. You know, none of it. If people leave your life, or if you leave people's lives, it's because they're no longer in alignment with you. They're not ready for you. It's because you're too good. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I don't think anyone is better than the other person. Never. We're all equals. But when we're on this spiritual journey, we up-level, we grow and we evolve, we ascend. And the people that once suited our energy, our frequency, no longer suit us anymore. So it's not like we're actually losing anything. We're just transforming into something different. These people aren't leaving us. The universe is removing them for our higher purpose, for our higher good. My mother didn't leave a toddler because I did something wrong. She left because of her own reasons. But it took me to connect the fact that my dog dying triggered the same abandonment wound. And I'm like, this is not the same thing. But yeah, I come back to the same defense, the same defense mechanisms. I caged my heart up again. And as I said, during that breathwork session, it was just like, oh my God, the whole emotions about everyone leaving, everyone abandons, and everyone doesn't choose me. I'm like, hold on now a second. My baby girl, she chose me every day for nearly 14 years. But yeah, I'm feeling rejected by her because her time was up, and she was, you know, she was old, she was unwell. She didn't choose to leave. And do you know what I mean? So this is what woke me up. So that's what I'm trying to say here, is that we have this fear of rejection. We have this fear of failure. We have this fear of abandonment. We have this fear that we're not good enough, that we're not worthy, that we're not good enough to be chosen. We need to start by choosing ourselves. We need to reparent our inner child, first of all, because this is where the wound stems from. It stems from a wounded inner child trauma. And as I've said before, doesn't mean that you had, like, you can look back on your childhood and think that you had a peachy childhood. You might have had, you know, a stable family home, or what looked like a stable family home. But a child can feel rejected in any kind of way. You know, if you fall over in the playground and somebody laughs at you, the child is going to remember that rejection, that fear, that embarrassment. You know, if your parent tells you to stop crying, you know, children should be seen and not heard, this kind of thing. This will trigger some kind of abandonment. If your parent neglects you, if your parent chooses alcohol or substances, this is a form of abandonment. This is a form of rejection that the child will feel. When you reprimand a child, this breaks my heart. We give out to children and they don't know what they're doing wrong. It's the same with dogs. The child is an innocent child drawn on the wall, happy as a pig in shit, drawn on the fucking wall, and then you attack the child and go, no, you can't do that. The child is going to feel abandonment and rejection. It's going to be like, oh my God, why doesn't mommy love me? Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. They won't even connect it to the fact that I was drawn on the wall. They'll just connect it to the fact that they were given out to. That's all it would be. And that's what I'm trying to say, is that no matter what kind of a childhood you may have had, it doesn't have to be physical abandonment. You're going to have some breed of inner child wounds. And like every single one of us does. This is why we feel rejection. This is why we fear rejection. This is what prevents us from taking risks and trying new things, from letting people into our lives. This is what makes us put cages up around our hearts. And I've been going through this heart awakening. I went through a bit of rejection over a month ago, and then my dog passed away. And all of the feelings I was feeling were all interconnected. And I was like, but it doesn't make sense how I can, feel these things when they're not true. And then I was like, if they're not true for my dog passing away, then they're not true for everything else. Because it has to be true 100% of the time if it is true. Other than that, it's a false belief. And I just woke up to the fact that, oh my God, this has been a false belief system. I've been allowing myself to feel abandonment. And obviously you do need to heal your inner child and heal these wounds. But I think because the wound was triggered so much, I reverted back to my old ways. I put those walls up around my heart for protection. And this made me more closed off. Like last week, I didn't want to talk to anyone. I just wanted to stay in my bubble. I wanted to lock myself back into my bubble and never ever leave it again. Now, I didn't understand this until I went through that breathwork session, and I was just like, oh, I'm reacting the exact same way as if I'd been abandoned or rejected. And I was like, my baby girl did not reject me. And I'm like, looking back now and going, why was I so upset about other things? Why was I letting myself feel abandoned and rejected over other things? Like, obviously these are parts of myself that I needed to heal, but it kind of just made me go, come on, I've been allowing myself to stay in this box too long. I have to start listening to the truth rather than listening to these lies. And that's what I was doing. I was lying to myself. People, this core wound when we believe that everyone leaves, that everyone abandons, that everyone rejects it, that I am not worthy of being chosen. That's bullshit. If anything, I'm overqualified to be chosen. People are afraid of my feminine empowerment. They're intimidated by me. So they're that's probably why they walk away. Or because they're out of alignment with me and I've had to walk away from them. Do you know, that kind of way? So it was never ever to do with me. And it took for me understanding, and connecting it to my dog leaving. My dog passing away, and now she didn't leave. She's right here. I can see her. Her spirit is with me all the time, so separation is actually an illusion. But it took for me to realize and connect the dots that I was feeling the same way over this as I was with every other thing in my life. And it's not just people, as I said. This is things like, when we try new things and it's scary, it's unknown. We take a few steps forward and we might hit a bit of a wall and we kind of run back and it's like, go back into the cage, don't try anything new. So it's the same with career or any kind of new opportunities we take. We dip one toe in and then we're like so scared and we come back into our box. So this is the thing that has happened for me as well, like this rejection. Like I'm afraid to take leaps of faith because I'm afraid I'll fail and I'm afraid I'm going to feel abandonment and rejection again. But that's bullshit. Do you know what I mean? And I'm afraid to even try because I'm afraid of that happening. But this is once again a false belief. We are falsely believing these lies that we tell ourselves. Because we are all worthy of love. Being human is what makes you worthy of love. That's it. You don't need to do anything else. You being you makes you worthy of love. You being you makes you worthy of being chosen, but you cannot expect somebody else to choose you unless you choose yourself first. And you choose yourself by doing that inner child healing and by healing those core wounds and actually waking up to the fact that you're not worthy, if you get me. You know what I mean? We keep lying to ourselves that we're not good enough. We are good enough. We just need to believe it. We need to nurture ourselves enough to understand that we are more than good enough. And that if people or things don't align with us, it's because they're not for us. We have to understand that. And it's for our greater good. Rejection is protection. And every time we go through a rejection of any kind, relationships or otherwise, this makes us stronger. This makes us more resilient, and it makes us understand that wasn't for us. And then you look back and you kind of go, that went to shit, but did I really want it? Was I ready for that? Did I need a wake-up call to learn and grow from this? None of this is because you did anything wrong. None of it is because you're unworthy. It's all because of your growth and your lessons and to move you forward onto a better path that's in more alignment with your soul. None of it is to do with you. It isn't and that's the wake-up call we all need, is to understand we have done nothing wrong. We have done absolutely nothing for people to leave us. We are just perceiving them as leaving. We're perceiving it as abandonment. We're perceiving it as rejection. Now, obviously, as I said, this is due to the unhealed, wounded inner child, and we need to heal that trauma to overcome this. But it is also a false belief system as well that we add to that pain. And that's what I've kind of understood, is that we add to the wound with our thoughts, and our thoughts are not fucking real. Most of the time we fear stuff that doesn't exist or cannot ever exist. And this is a thought we are not our thoughts. You know what I mean? Just because we think something doesn't make it true. It doesn't. So you thinking that because you might have an abandonment wound or a core rejection wound, you're thinking because of that you're unworthy. The wound is real, but the thoughts are false. Do you know what I mean? And we can heal the wound if we heal or change our thoughts and change our belief system. Release that old false core belief that we're not worthy, that you're not worthy to be chosen. Fuck that shit. We allow our abandonment wound to be more intense because of our thoughts. When we overthinking is just it's the worst. We overthink things and then we make them bigger than they are, or we make them into something that they're not. We make and create this scenario that's not real. And that's what I've come to understand. And as I said, I didn't understand this until I realised through the breathwork session that I was reacting the same way to my dog dying as I did to any kind of failure or rejection I felt in the past. And that is not real. And it made me wake up to the fact that I was being silly in a sense. And I'm not saying I was being silly. My wound was real. But my added overthinking and my added false beliefs made that wound bigger and made my defense mechanisms stronger, made my walls around my heart thicker. And I've been living it with, for the last few weeks, I was going through a heart awakening, going through certain rejections and abandonments, and then my dog passing away. My heart has been so fucking heavy over the last few weeks. It's been really, really heavy. I could actually feel how heavy it was with the walls around it. I was waking up in the morning and I was feeling so lethargic. I was feeling so meh. I just didn't have the will to do anything because of these walls around my heart. And because of that breathwork session, they're coming down. They're really coming down. And I had that wake-up call that I was living this false belief system. These beliefs are not real. I am worthy of love. People don't leave. they're removed from your life because they're not in alignment with you anymore. You are worthy of love. You are worthy to choose yourself. And when you choose yourself, you can heal those wounds and remove those false beliefs, because that's all they are. Your thoughts are not real. They're not. We create these lies and these scenarios in our heads for something that isn't real and will never be real. Our wounds are very real, but our thoughts are fucking false, and that's what bugs me. You know, we go into this overthinking mode, and we're like this, and this overtakes our lives. It really does. And for the last couple of months, I have literally been living this false belief system, and I've been trying to heal it. I've been trying to talk myself out of it. I've been trying to tell myself this, that, the other, but it was only because of me reacting the same way to my dog passing away that I kind of woke up through that breathwork session going, whoa, this is a false belief system. I am allowing myself to react the same way to these things over and over again when I haven't been abandoned and I haven't been rejected. I just need to nurture my inner child again and again and tell her, look, this is nothing to do with you. This is nothing to do with you. It's nothing to do with you. It has absolutely nothing to do with you. You are the most amazing person in the world. If people leave, it's because of their shit. If things don't work out, it's because it's not for you. You know what I mean? But it's never, ever, ever anything to do with you. You need to start by understanding that. Understand your thoughts are not real. That we can create mountains out of fucking molehills and create these walls around our hearts for no reason. We can let these walls down. We can let love in. And I mean love in all aspects. I mean opportunities, abundance, friendships, you know, romantic as well. But we can let love in because it's okay. If it's for you, it will come in. But we can't just go back to our box. We have to stop reverting back to that old defense mechanism. Because every time we close our heart, we're preventing any kind of love into our lives. And that's hard. That makes us more closed-hearted. That makes us more lonely. And that's painful. It is actually fucking painful. So, you know, open your heart. Trust that if it's for you, it will come in. And if it doesn't work out, it's for a higher lesson and it's to make you stronger. But it's absolutely nothing to do with you. It's to do with the other thing or the other person not being in alignment with who you are. You are too good for these people. And I don't mean that in a bad way again. I hate saying that because we're all equal. What I'm saying is that you're on a different path. These people or these things are not on the same path as you. They're just on their own frequency and you're on a new frequency. So, you know, you are choosable. When you choose yourself, you are worthy of love and you are good enough. Believe that. You can overcome all of this by healing your abandonment wound, but by getting rid of those false thoughts, getting rid of those lies out of your head. That's what you need to do. Change your thoughts for new ones and understand that we can heal this abandonment wound, we can heal this rejection wound, but we can also delay healing it if we keep lying to ourselves about why it happened. Understand that these are all lessons, these are all for our growth, and it's not because you did anything wrong. It's just because it's not on the same frequency as you anymore. It was for your higher good, it was for your protection, and it was for a lesson. So understand that you are worthy, you are good enough, and you choose yourself. Open your heart and trust, because it's so much lighter. It is so much lighter and less painful when we open our hearts and let down those walls. It really is. I've had such a heavy heart for the last couple of months. And because of the breathwork session I did on Saturday, I've had the most, I suppose, light couple of days that I've had in a long time. And I do not want to close up again. So I'm going to continue to tell myself the truth, which is that I am worthy and that I do deserve love. And that everything is for my divine protection. And this is the same for you. You are worthy, you are good enough, you do deserve love, you do deserve to choose yourself, and you do deserve to live with an open heart. So thank you so much for listening today, and I hope this resonates. If it does, please like and share, and please subscribe to my channel so I can reach as many people as possible. And if you would like help on your journey, please book me for a discovery call today, and I would love nothing more than to help you on your path. Thanks again, bye-bye.